Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, then you're tuned in for another episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends. This is episode 20. You know me, it's your boy Jay Reddy in the building. Also, I have my wonderful co host, Lady Great One, in the building. Say hi to the people.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight?
Factual, factual. We also got in the building tonight a special guest, um, spawning from a very heated back and forth that we had in our other group, the Game Runners, today. Welcome to the building, Roy, aka Mr. Stratisfaction, in the building. Say hi to the people.
Hey, how's it going?
Just for y'all want to know, I didn't want to call him that, but he's a Trish Stratus fan, as we all are, so I had to.
Yes, sir.
You know. How's it feel being on the podcast? This is the first time we got you on. You're always active in the group, so it's good to have somebody who has a lot of good feedback to give.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. I'm glad y'all had me on and let me tolerate what I gotta say.
So we got a couple of different topics on the schedule tonight. First and foremost, the topic that we wanted you to on the show to discuss the big Dave Meltzer meltdown that occurred earlier today. Also, Lady Great One and I were just at Raw live earlier this week. So we'll talk about some of the events that occurred on Raw Live. And of course, we're going to do our predictions for the pay per views coming up this weekend as far as SummerSlam and NXT Brooklyn 4 goes. Um, Not to waste any time, to jump right into it, the whole Dave Meltzer meltdown, if you guys have not heard, earlier today, Dave Meltzer made some very controversial comments to WWE superstar Peyton Royce, or about Peyton Royce. Um, he spoke a little bit about her wrestling, which is not that great, which I can agree with. But next, what occurred kind of shook the wrestling world and spawned a lot of responses from WWE superstars. And I quote, Meltzer, when referring to Peyton Royce, said, I thought the Iconics had it cool acting in NXT. And on the main roster, I don't get a thing out of them. I don't think that their promos are particularly good. Their wrestling isn't good. I think they even I think Peyton Royce's transformation to look more attractive. I don't know. I don't want to say, but I don't think that. So Alvarez said that you think they were more attractive in NXT? He says, yes, I thought so. To me, I would say so, but that's neither here nor there. No one's saying she's unattractive, by the way, everybody. I know, I didn't say it at all, but she doesn't stand out to me. When she was in NXT, she did. She was a lot lighter. So there was a lot of backlash for those comments. Because he's stating that she's not as attractive as she used to be in NXT, which is not too much. But then when he starts going into the weight comment and says that she was a lot lighter, and in not so many words hinting that that's one of the reasons why she was hotter in NXT, because she was lighter than she is now. Now, I'm not a woman at all. I relate to a lot of women. I'm a happily married man. I grew up, in a household with just me, my moms, and my sister. So I definitely have an appreciation for women, and I understand. But Lady Great One, when you read these comments that Dave Meltzer made about Peyton Royce, how did that make you feel? And how did you take those comments?
Number one, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to announce that this show will not be PG rated. This will definitely be one of those ones that you're going to have to tune in to TV 14. This is about to be a little bit of TVMA. Actually, we might as well just go ahead and cut to the chase. We might as well just put this one on HBO only after dark, from what I'm about to say right here.
G-String
Fuck
Divas.
Meltzer. Fuck Meltzer. Fuck Meltzer. Number one, maybe you're saying that she was lighter in the boob area and she needed to stay natural. Or she was saying that she had put on some pounds. Either way it goes, you don't have to go after a woman's looks. Women are already body shamed enough already, and the desire to look like absolute perfection is unrealistic, unattainable, and highly, highly, highly unachievable, especially when you don't have the money to do it. Now, granted, I'm not saying that she doesn't have the money to do it, and whatever she wants to do with her body is her business and not anybody else's. So I'll say this again, fuck Meltzer, and that's mine.
Okay. Um, also pass this. I'm gonna pass the mic along now to our special guest, and I want you to kind of give how you interpreted this whole conversation that Meltzer and Alvarez had, and how you took these comments that he made about Peyton Royce.
Yeah, when I read them, I didn't really take it as an insult. I just took it as he was kind of giving his critique on that. He preferred, uh, her the way she was in NXT versus the way she was on the main roster. I really didn't see the body shaming aspect of it. Now, granted, I will preface my comments by saying I'm really not familiar with Dave Meltzer, his past, his history. I know I read some stuff where they was bringing up what he said about Sable and different issues. I didn't really take the lighter comment as weight related as much as I thought maybe he was referring to he preferred her natural without the boob job. I didn't know whether it was a boob job or whether he was saying that she had got darker, like skin tone wise or something like that. But that was the only thing that I kind of like looked at as like, oh, well, maybe that could be misconstrued or interpreted a different way than maybe he meant it. But then, I don't really know his background like that. I mean, I don't follow him, so I can't speak to what. Uh, I just know that the community was going bonkers, and when I heard it, was like, "Yo!" I thought it was an overreaction to what he said. In my opinion, I didn't really see the body shaming, or I just saw a guy saying he preferred her a different way. Because he mentioned he didn't think she was ugly. He didn't by any means did he not say that she wasn't attractive. He just said he preferred her NXT style over her main roster style, and that's what I took from it.
Eh, I can agree with some of what you're saying, but as I stated before, as a married man as well as a man who grew up with women, in a household with just me, my mom's, and my sister. One of the things that you realize is that when it comes to making public comments about a woman's appearance in a not so positive manner, the reaction that he got is what any other person is going to end up getting. Um, I think when you and I were commenting about this earlier, you had said specifically that you think that a lot of people have gotten a little bit soft or easily offended, and that it shouldn't be wrong for a man or anyone to say that they're not as attracted to some females, or say that they're not attractive. Um,
Well, yeah, like I feel like just a society in general, we have gotten super hypersensitive, and to the point where we expect everybody to think in this uniform manner. Like I said earlier before on the post, like had he said she was ugly, had he said that she was fat, now he could have been, some people could have interpreted the lighter comment that he made to be fat or big, but I didn't see anything that he said that was derogatory. In
mhm,
my opinion, I felt like he was just saying, I prefer her this way. Like for instance, like when somebody posted a pic of Eva Marie in the purple hair, right, along a while ago in the Game Runners
mhm,
group, and I preferred the red over the purple of Eva
mhm,
Marie. And I kind of took his comments along those same lines as him just saying, I preferred her NXT look over her main roster look.
mhm.
But I feel like even in society today, like we feel like everybody has to. I mean, I feel like it's okay if you're not attracted to a certain style of person or a certain individual. I mean, I get what you're saying about you got to be careful about saying that publicly and how you word it. But I think
Mhm.
this is a prime example of even if you try not to offend somebody, like we're in a hypersensitive society where if you're not stating a certain track of thought or train of thought, you're gonna be blasted as just you're gonna get this type of backlash. And I just don't think. I mean, to me, he got the same amount of backlash as like Hulk Hogan, almost. You know.
Mm, eh. My thing with it is that, like you said, I think that he knew he was about to say some controversial shit, and I think that he tried to lighten the blow, saying before he said it, saying that I don't think she's unattractive. That's not what I'm saying at all. But she looked better in NXT. You know, I think that even though that's still straddling the fence, I think if it would have just been left at that, then he might have been able to skate past or slide past. As
But
soon as he,
you think saying lighter,
as soon,
made that's what pushed him into the edge of offensive territory, is that he preferred her lighter.
yes, because
Yeah.
as soon as that word came out, it was it. Um, and the thing about it is, a lot of women struggle with their image, as far as how they look, as far as if they gain weight or if they need to lose weight or things like that. Not only that, but women are constantly objectified by men in a lot of different areas other than just wrestling. And it's like I said earlier, we got our locker room talk that we do, so to speak. That'll probably be the only fucking Donald Trump phrase that I will ever use on this show. But we have a locker room talk when we talk about what we like in women. Who we would smash, who we wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's nothing wrong with that, but also it's always it's most of the time in a safe forum to say things like that. So I think that doing it in a public manner and saying that she was lighter, I think that he painted a target on his back for that one. Um,
Well, I don't want to put myself on blast here. And well, put it like this: I'll put myself on blast. I won't name or say anything about anybody else because they can speak for themselves. But like, you know, I remember I made a comment a while ago that talking on a post when I was like, everybody in the WWE has a nice body except for Charlotte, right? And or I said everybody in WWE was attractive except for Charlotte Flair. So would that be considered like the same body shaming as Meltzer? Because I kind of feel like that's what he said in like, and he said something in the same vein as me saying, Charlotte, and I've heard much worse, posted and said about Charlotte,
mm-hmm.
About her looks, about how she's not not as attractive as say Lana or Sasha or some of the other WWE superstars, so women superstars. So like I'm just because that was really what I was trying to say on the post, was that I was trying to have somebody really explain to me what he said that was so offensive, because I didn't take it as offensive, but I definitely understood. Okay, if somebody else took it as offensive, I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm just going to say from my standpoint, I didn't see what was so offensive about it. But that's also coming from coming from a guy's perspective who doesn't know Dave Meltzer and just reading the comments. Like, I don't know all this history. So I didn't take all that into account. But, I'm like you. Like, I'm married. I have daughters, sisters, but I just didn't see where the comment was, derogatory, and especially not to the point where he got the backlash that he got. I thought they was kind of killing an ant with a sledgehammer in that situation to me.
So I got a I got a message from somebody listening to the show right now, and they said
Man,
somebody said you need to watch your mouth talking about Charlotte.
Charlotte has her times where she, she's just not always on point like the rest of them.
For the sake of as I was stating earlier, the thing about it is I don't see any harm in stating that you're not attracted to certain people, because everybody has their taste and everybody has like you said earlier, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
However, a public forum where other people can easily grab that, and it's going to be highly publicized. It's a PR thing you don't do. Um, and I don't want to take it to a sexist point, but I mean it's specifically about women. You can't make negative comments or
Well,
not.
I will agree with you that given today's climate, like it's really I agree, it's not about what should be, it's about what is. And given today's climate, like you do have to be extra careful as to what you say and how you say certain things, because even if you try to backtrack, like he tried to backtrack it in that same statement by saying, you know, I'm not saying she's unattractive. That he basically might as well not even have said that, because I don't think anybody even cared that he said it. Once he said what he said, it's like, you know, it's over. So from that standpoint, I definitely agree with you that being especially as a public forum as he is, I mean, he has thousands of listeners that he out there listening to him every day. So he's got to be careful with what he says. So I agree with that 100%.
And I think a lot of it also comes from, you know, especially when you're a woman and you're in the eye of the public a lot of the time as well, you know. You know how Facebook is, you know how YouTube is.
Yeah.
You know, they read the comments. And what Meltzer said probably is light compared to, you know, what somebody might say in the comments of a video that, you know, has her wrestling. Because, I mean, if I'm being honest, her wrestling is shit.
Right.
She's a poor wrestler. I mean, if the comments would have stayed at that, Meltzer, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm about to say nobody had any issue with that.
You know what I'm saying? But,
right.
you know, once you stepped into talking about, you know, she's sexier on NXT and lighter, it's like, you know, I felt the tenseness of like just a certain percentage of female WWE viewers just looking at that post sideways. Like I felt it from here, you know. And like I said, it's more of a female thing. And, you know, Lady Great One, feel free to jump in at any point in time, you know, as well. But you know, it's a female thing.
I was waiting on the time to talk, but I was just gonna let y'all go ahead and get what y'all had to say off your chest first. Y'all go ahead and continue. I'm gonna jump in here in just a minute.
And you know, and the thing about it is, you know, if I talk about myself, you know, I'm a big guy. Like I'm heavy. I'm a big 300-pound guy. I mean, you know, I know it's unheard of for a wrestling fan to be fat, you know, but like I'm a big dude. If somebody says, you know, Jonathan, you know, you were probably better when you were 100 pounds lighter, hell, I'll agree with you. Like, yeah, shit, I was a bad motherfucker back, you know, when I was like 250, you know, 200, you know, but now it's just like, you know, it with dudes, they don't care about stuff like that.
Right.
But with women in a society when you're constantly objectified by men in public and in private, it's a soft spot. And like the specific comment that Peyton Royce made back was specifically, she said, "What do I have to starve myself? What do I have to do, Dave? This is how nightmares for young women start. The females in your life must be proud." You know, and it's one of those things like it hit that soft spot, and you saw the whole community of females, you know, women's wrestlers, commentators. Renee Young called him a sweltering piece of hot garbage. You know, Beth Phoenix said it made her sick. You know, Ember Moon said, "Get him, you're beautiful on the inside and out." I can't believe this was even a topic of conversation. You know, and then even some men were commenting.
I know Seth Rollins chimed in, like, you get -6 stars.
Yeah, you know.
Meltzer, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it woke a lot of people up. And I think that when you're speaking from your perspective, I can get with a lot more of what you're saying in this conversation on the podcast now than I could if I was to respond to Dave Meltzer, who actually said it live. Like, if I'm in the studio and this says, I'm like, ooh. You know, I'm like, that's going to spawn like that. That's going to blow up. I mean, and he's going to get a lot of clicks. Like, this is going to get a lot of traffic to his site, to his, you know, to his whole podcast or whatever, you know, because they always say no publicity is bad publicity, but, you know, it's going to get a lot of, you know, heat for it as well, and well-deserved.
I think given what I've learned about him just today alone, and looking at this and just, you know, the reaction that was from what he said, I feel like he's at a point where this is kind of like just another storm for him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's gone through this so many times with things that he said and people just not liking him. So I feel like while he apologized because he knew it was out of line, or basically from the backlash that he got, because like I said, I was reading tweets all day. Like the last hour of my day at work, I was just reading tweets of what people were saying to him, and I was like, dang, yo, these people really, you know, the WWE universe and the community is really trashing them over that. And like you said, I mean, I can agree with the fact that women are objectified, and especially in the WWE where it's such a male-oriented profession, women are just now starting to get the recognition as WWE superstars and not divas. They're starting to finally get their time to kind of be seen on the same level, and for that to come out, you know what I'm saying? I think also too what kind of really got people was that he went from she was lighter. Had he said I liked her thicker, I don't think it would have been as big of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think if like for instance, had he made the statement like, yo, I liked her when she had a little more weight on her, I don't know if that would have been as big of a as big of a bomb as I like her lighter. You know what I'm saying? Because most of the time we always associate small people with beauty and stuff like that. So yeah, I just it was just looking at the comments, I was just floored by the reaction because I didn't see that vitriol, that level of vitriol that came at him was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? But then again, I'm looking at it from a male perspective of somebody who thinks that society has just gotten way too hypersensitive on not just this issue, but a lot of type of issues that fall under this same type of umbrella. So that was my stance.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
Well,
let
for
Lady
me,
Great One talk because I done took over for a second here. Go ahead.
okay. Are we finished? Are you done?
I'm
Are
done.
you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Okay, I was just making sure. I mean, I didn't want to jump in there where I wasn't quite necessarily
Well, you
needed. I
know,
was y'all handled the conversation,
when
listening,
it comes
patrolling,
to
taking it all in.
go ahead.
I'm just soaking in the conversation. Just sitting up here gathering my own thoughts, trying to figure out where I'm going to go with this next.
Mhm.
But given the history that Meltzer has, that's the reason why he can sugarcoat it any way he wants to. A turd is still a turd at the end of the day. I don't care how many times you polish it, how many times you can plate it gold, it's still a turd. So that's my opinion on Meltzer, and I'm going to leave it like that. But to continue on what else was said, wording is everything. Lighter could have meant, like I said before, it could have meant because maybe she got breast augmentation. I don't know if she did or not. Maybe because she put on weight. I don't know if she did or not. Or it could be because she's using fake tan now, spray tan now. I don't know if she did or not. But still, regardless of however form he meant it, the way that it was put out there is what caused the backlash. So, regardless of what he intentionally meant to say, he said it. It's been said. There's no going back on that. There's no backtracking on that. I'm not going to listen to any of his podcasts. I never have. And I never will. I'll see that he only gives love to New Japan. I see that all over the place. Every now and again, a little bit of Ring of Honor, and that's about it.
Anything
But
pretty much not WWE.
yeah, it's not WWE, and that's the platform that I watch the majority of. I don't say that's the only thing I watch because I do watch Ring of Honor, but that's the majority platform that I do watch. And I try my best not to miss a show. And just the way he's always trashed WWE for the things that they've done, that's why I'm not really a fan of his to begin with. So either way, all this aside, take this whole issue out. I've never been a fan. So why am I going to start now? Or why am I going to be clickbaiting him just to give him more publicity? So the best way to make something go away in any universe, WWE or not, is to remain silent. So he gets nothing but silence from me from this point in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've never listened to him before either, and I ain't gonna start now. So
You know, you made an interesting comment. You said in any universe that if you want to get rid of somebody, the point is to just not respond. Which brings us back to the general comment that it always gets back to Roman Reigns. of all people. Nah, I'm not even gonna give Roman no shout out this
Of
week.
course,
You know what
it
I'm saying?
had to lead to a Roman Reigns conversation. I was
Big
waiting
dog.
for it. I was geared up for it.
You know, if you just ignore him instead of booing him, he's not gonna get the publicity. You know, but no, I definitely, you know, I'm one of those people. I think about stuff like that. So, you know, as far as the comments that Meltzer made, you know, and I don't want to get too personal with you. You don't got to put your business out there. But did it make you feel some type of way as a woman to hear something like that?
All I have to say is Beth Phoenix and Nia Jax said it best. Thick thighs saves lives. And I'm leaving it at
Man. So I think that we got the gist of, you know, both sides of the fence. And I think that Roy put it best when he said, you know, it's one of those things. Society, I can agree, has gotten a lot sensitive. But I think that, as a matter of fact, I just think that if he would have used any other word not pertaining to weight, he still probably could have got away with that whole comment. Like the comment that you made as far as, you know, the hair for, what's that chick's name now? Eva Marie. Oh my goodness, she was so irrelevant. I couldn't think of her name for a second.
The
But the
former
comment,
GOAT,
wow.
the former greatest of all time, Eva Marie.
no, she's
Hey, she was an excellent heel. I loved Eva Marie. I don't care
She
what you say.
was.
when was she on? When
She
was
would
she
have been
on
one of the
TV?
best heels in the business.
I don't see.
All you had to do is listen to the crowd when she walked in a room. It was like Roman Reigns on steroids.
But she
Listen to the
barely
reaction.
ever walked in a room. That was the problem. She was never there. So I couldn't form an opinion.
Promos, the entrance, due
Right.
to traffic, Eva Marie will not be able to perform. Come on.
They hated her, man.
That was the greatest thing ever for a heel. Come
That
on.
really was. That was dope. That was dope. I was feeling that. The fact that she would come out and then not even wrestle, just go back.
I think that if it would have got a little more time, that she could have really been a big heel because of how many people hated her. Because I mean, when you hate somebody that much, where you just hate them for being them, that does usually make the best heels. Like
Right.
for the longest
And
time,
I think they misused her lack of wrestling ability because that should have been her biggest heel quality. Is that somehow, even though you know she sucks, and then she's beautiful, so she's gonna play that up, and she somehow wins anyway when you know she has no business in the ring with a Charlotte Flair or a Sasha Banks or a Bailey. That would have been like the biggest. She would have been the most hated person in WWE, male or female. You know?
I completely agree with you. I mean, like Alexa Bliss, she is a great heel right now.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yep.
She is a great wrestler too. You can't really see it because when you're a heel, you do anything necessary to win.
I think she's a good enough wrestler. I don't know about great.
Well, we really can't see how much more she can do because of the fact that she's a heel. So of course she can limit her sets because she's a heel, because she doesn't need to do all the high flying acrobatics and stuff like that. She was a gymnast. She was a cheerleader. So we know she has skills. Now, whether or not she's able to use those particular skills because it's not in her character to use those things, we haven't seen that yet, because right now we need her as this dominant heel. So with Eva Marie, you could have did exactly what you said. Take her lack of wrestling and her lack of wrestling skills, even though she was working very closely with Brian Kendrick, and she did hit a pretty sliced bread number 2. So she was working to improve.
Right.
So we will never know unless she gets hired back. I don't think that she left on like bad terms to where she couldn't come back.
Well, I mean, anybody can come back, really. I mean, except for maybe CM Punk, but even he at some point may come back. I just feel like you're right. I feel like Eva Marie, they missed out on the fact that she had built-in heat from like the day she walked in the door, just about. From the day she showed up on, what was it, Total Bellas or whatever the show was.
Yeah.
and she changed her hair red. I mean, it was like right then she had heat, and like you said, her lack of wrestling ability is what everybody hated about her. The fact that she couldn't wrestle. That's why you should have put her out there. Like people, you could have gave they really could have did a great job of like putting her in Paige's spot with Evolution or whatever Paige's faction was when she came back, and like have the faction cheat to get her on top, and she's you know doing all these heel promos about how she's the best and she's the great, and she sucks, but because she got Mandy
Absolutely.
Rose and Sonya Deville helping her out, that's why she's on top. I mean, it would have. I think she would have been like astronomically hated beyond anything of Roman Reigns. Because at least with Roman Reigns, he's kind of like a mixed bag. Like, there's some people that actually like him. There's some people that actually know he can wrestle, he can put on a decent match. It's kind of like 50-50. But with Eva, it was straight hate. Like, there was nobody that really liked her in the crowd.
Mm. And you're exactly right. And this is one of the points that I make with a lot of people. Because it's a lot of people who think that just because you're a great wrestler that you're supposed to get a push, or just because you came from another promotion that you should be champion in WWE. A lot of the time, the best characters are the ones that nobody notices because they get a chance to grow and improve while still being in the spotlight, but not being the main event in the spotlight. And for example, and I know we're getting off subject, we're going to get back on subject in a little bit here. The Miz is probably my favorite guy in the company right now, as far as talent goes. And he's not the best wrestler in the building. He's not the toughest guy on the roster. But the Miz always got better from the time that he started, when he was in ECW with Extreme Expose, when he was doing the hoorah, to the point of being the Calgary Kid, stealing a contract back, to changing that garbage finisher that he had, the reality check, and moving to a maneuver that you don't see often with the skull crushing finale. It was always a good move. You didn't see a lot of people use it. Then he started exhibiting better ring psychology, from what I tell people. And this is one of the things that makes John Cena and Roman Reigns, this is one thing that's going to end up making their careers, and which made John Cena's career, and it's going to make Roman's career. When you are considered the person that's limited in the ring, it makes it easy for you to book a 3, 4, or 5-star match with that person, because I don't have a standard that I have to live up to every match. So John Cena would throw, he would pull out a 4 or 5-star match out of his ass because he threw out one extra move. John Cena did a Hurricane Rana yesterday. Oh my God, he did a Hurricane Rana. John Cena did a German suplex off the middle rope the other day. He did what?
Oh my God, John Cena hit a springboard stunner.
Yes, it's just like, it's easy. The Miz, working matches, all the people knew him for was the skull crushing finale, and the clothesline in the corner. So he silently started mocking Daniel Bryan when he was feuding with Daniel Bryan, and started doing other moves, that were Daniel Bryan's. So it's just one or two moves that Daniel Bryan does, but it adds so much depth to his character in the ring, and it helps tell so much more of a story, that it makes his matches interesting. It's very much so easier to be somebody like The Miz and, or John Cena than it is to be AJ Styles, who, you see Styles do a springboard 450 and then do a 1,000, submission holds, and then you see him, reverse and counter and strike. And it's like, you have to live up to that standard and show somebody something new. And if you just put on all of this array of offense, what can you give the people new? It's like eventually you're going to run out of things. And AJ Styles is a bad example, because AJ Styles has a lot in his bag. But somebody who's less of a star than AJ Styles, say if you're somebody like a Dolph Ziggler, it's harder for Dolph Ziggler to come out there and put on a show for people, because you're expecting him to come out there and sell, and you're expecting him to do something cool. So it's like, if he doesn't do something cool, then it's like, oh, well, that match is okay. It wasn't that great, It's ring psychology, man. It's smart.
I agree. I agree with that. And to your Miz point, I hate the Miz. Like, I can't stand the Miz, and I think mainly because I was introduced to the Miz on the Real World. Him talking about he wants to be a wrestler, and but looking at him purely from, and I hate him as a wrestler. Like, Mike, whoever his name is, I don't care about him, individually, but at the Miz character, I'm like, I can't stand. But what I will give the Miz, to your point, is that the one thing about the Miz is that he can work. You can book Miz with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the thing that makes him so valuable, to the WWE, because Miz has gone from being like the WWE champion, main event in WrestleMania, to like, the first show, the first match on the card, to the Intercontinental champion, to, you can put him with Daniel Bryan, you can put him with John Cena, you can put him with Roman Reigns, or you can put him with, Bo Dallas and Kurt Hennig, and have the Miz Taraj, and have him doing whatever, because he's great on the mic. He's one of the best like guys on the mic in WWE. He's a serviceable worker in the ring. So the fact that you can book him with anybody, I feel like makes him so versatile. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he knows how to get over. Like, I don't think he's gonna transition his mic skills into acting the way, like, say, maybe The Rock did or John Cena's trying to do. But I feel like he's good enough in WWE that they really he kind of makes himself irreplaceable, because there's nobody else on the roster that I can think of that is at his level, to where
Mm-hmm.
he's willing to be so far down and then so far up. Because you have guys like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, those guys are always wanting to be at the top of the card. Roman Reigns, and then you have guys like Dolph Ziggler, who he doesn't want to. He's at the bottom. You got guys like Cesaro, who stays around the bottom, who can work in the ring, but their mic skills are suspect. So they're only limited in what you can really do with them. Like you said, the Miz, I just feel like he's one of those guys that you can really do whatever you want to do with him. And he has a great ability to make you hate him and love him. There's times when I'm cheering for the Miz, and there's times I hate the Miz. So, yeah, I agree. I think he's one of the best guys in WWE, much as I hate to admit it.
Okay, well, I have to jump in on this one too, because y'all know I'm a misfit. I'm sorry, I had to throw it back there to when he was the chick magnet. Um, so yes, I've been a huge fan of the Miz for a really, really long time. His mic skills are second to none. I mean, you're exactly right. You could put him in a program with Kevin Owens, and that's, in my opinion, one of the only people who are current right now who can match him word for word, go back and forth in a boxing match and talking.
I'd love
Because
to see
Kevin
them
Owens is
feud.
another one of those guys too. You can put him down at the bottom, you can put him back up at the top
Right.
to spar with that. And that was the one person that, or the only person really that I can think of who is active.
I would throw Samoa Joe in that ring too. I like the way Samoa Joe's. But yeah, I agree with you. Kevin Owens is definitely one of those guys that are versatile. As far as wrestlers go, if you're just talking about talkers, I would throw Paul Heyman in that mix with anybody.
Pretty much
Oh, of course.
all of your top heels. It's hard to find a guy that's a face that can really talk, and I think that's one of the reasons why Roman Reigns is in the position that he is now. With him and Seth Rollins, even Seth Rollins, as talented as he is in the ring, like you said, he's guys suspect on the mic. So I mean, these are the guys that they really get exposed when they have programs, because it's like, if I got you out here talking, you can't really carry a show with the microphone, so to speak. And I know it's a lot of people that will probably disagree with what I'm saying there, but I mean it's true. You
Well,
know,
no, I agree with you, and I got a question too. Like, do you feel that the lack of mic skills for some of the main top guys, like say a Seth Rollins, or um, even to a certain extent, like AJ Styles, I think he's pretty good, but he's not like the back in the day. And I know I'm old, and I know people don't like when you go back to the Attitude Era, but back in the day when you had guys like Stone Cold and Triple H and The Rock and DX, and even like Edge and Christian, these guys were mic. All these guys were pretty decent on the mic. You had a lot of guys who could cut a decent promo. I mean, of course, I feel like nobody was as great as, say, The Rock in cutting promos and just being natural. Stone Cold was natural. But do you think that's because the promos now are so much more scripted for the baby faces. Like they come out and they give you talk points, and you got to reach this point, you got to reach their point, and instead of them just being natural and letting it flow, they're always constantly thinking about lines that they were told to say, words that they were, do you think creative just has too much of a impact on what is being said instead of just saying, okay, I want you to hit on this point. Like, for instance, I want you to talk about, AJ Styles' family. And then letting Samoa Joe, trusting Samoa Joe to go out there and say what he needs to say, as opposed to giving him a script to do so. Even though I liked the ending of SmackDown when he came out and read the letter from AJ Styles' wife. I thought that was pretty cool. But you just see that so much where the baby faces just look like they're trying to remember what to say. Like they're in a play as opposed to the naturalist that we used to see back in the day. Why do you think that is?
I personally think that we're in a society, and not just wrestling fans, but just in general, that everybody wants to see edgy. And if you're too much of a goody two shoes, that I think it's already a knock against you. Like I've said this countless times, and maybe not on the show, but just having a general discussion with people. I think the hardest job in wrestling in this day and age is to be a top guy and be a believable face, so to speak. Because when we were naming all those guys just now about how good their mic skills are, only thing I can think of is, man, Kevin Owens is a heel, Miz is a heel, Samoa Joe is a heel. I would love to see a program with either one of these, feuds, but who's going to play the good guy in this situation? And maybe they don't have to have a good guy. Maybe it could be just one of those matches where somebody just remains neutral.
Well, I think that was the key to the Attitude Era, is that you had the anti-hero, or the hero was not necessarily a good guy.
Stone Cold.
Like Stone Cold was not a good guy per se, but he was the quote unquote face. He was what everybody cheered for. Same thing with The Rock. Like The Rock got to a certain point where it was kind of hard for him to be heel because they liked him so much. So he just became the anti-hero, The Rock, the guy that talked trash. And so I feel like that's the problem, is that they try to make these guys too much of the like Hulk Hogan era face. And I don't think that that's going over anymore. And I think too, it's weird because I feel like WWE has went backwards from every other aspect of television. So like if you look at your sitcoms and your TV series and everything, like they've gotten way more edgy in everything that they do. They've gotten, like, the language has increased. So like now watching USA is like watching HBO, but the WWE has went backwards. So back in the day they were edgy. Now they done became PG, and I feel like that's hurting them in this society where I watch Raw, and then when Raw goes off, I'm watching Shooter or Suits or something, and they're talking about, don't be a pussy on Suits. Yet WWE, I'm sitting there hearing Roman Reigns say suffering succotash and talking about going up a beanstalk. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's another thing that's kind of hurt them, is that you want me to believe that this mean 250-pound guy comes out and just says, I'm going to beat you up. That's just not realistic.
Oh, wow. When you said that, you put a lot of things. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to laugh at the whole second and separate that. I can't even say it right now. I'm so choked up from laughter. But you're right. I mean, as soon as Raw goes off, and you do have a like explicit, like, okay, we're now going to HBO after dark, so to speak.
Right.
Like, we're going to this uncensored sort of programming. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry, I couldn't find the word program coming out. But yeah, WWE is very, very kid friendly. And sometimes it does hurt for us adults who still enjoy the product and have been a fan of the product for many, many years. But I also got to think about my 8-year-old son. And do I want him running around talking about DX back in the day?
Yeah.
Right, because I mean, at one point in time, we were all running around yelling "suck it," even
Oh
though
yeah,
we were
we
teenagers
all
when it
got
came out.
we all probably got ISS or detention or something
Yeah.
related for giving a
Exactly.
sucking
For telling
sign.
somebody to shove it up their Rudy Poo candy.
Mhm.
Yep. You, Lord knows, you come into school wearing one of those T-shirts. You either turn it inside out or you go home.
Right.
Mhm.
Those shirts were banned at my school. I don't know how they were at your schools, but those
Yeah.
shirts got banned at my school.
Oh yeah,
We
I had
got
a.
the NWO shirts banned. Like that was such a craze that they stopped us from wearing NWO shirts.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was never a
But
bad thing with wrestling with us with my school. They just hated long white T-shirts, so they banned T-shirts and chains and do rags at my school. My school was a little hood, just to say the
but
least.
moving on to what I was saying on this, you're right. It is a very PC world. You have to be so careful that, which actually just ties back to the comment that you were making earlier. You have to be so careful with what you say that freedom of speech is not quite free anymore.
Right.
So, like, yes, you're allowed to have an opinion, but you got to make sure you don't discriminate against this, and this. But you're okay to think what you want to think and say what you want to say, as
This is
long as you
my
don't
thing.
offend.
This is my thing with the freedom of speech. America is a place where you're free to say whatever you want to. You just got to be prepared to get the backlash that's going to come along with it. Like in a country that has freedom of speech, you can drop as many n bombs as you want to as a white person, and you're still exhibiting your freedom of speech. But please, understand that you're going to get an onslaught coming at you for saying that. It may not be any legal ramifications, but uh, you're definitely going to get an onslaught of people coming at you.
Yeah, I think the best way it was put that I heard was that, we do have freedom of speech, we don't have freedom of consequence. And I think that's where
Facts.
people get messed up is that they want to have freedom of speech, but they don't want to have. They also want to have freedom of consequence. So I can say what I want, and nothing happens. And like you said, you can say what you want to say, but don't think that them words may not come with consequence. You may lose your job, you may face, an onslaught of hate. Consequences are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the social media age, um, everything you say can come back on you at some point in time.
Right.
And go through and look at somebody's tweet from when they were dumb, drunk, whatever, when they were young, stupid. Their minds have changed now. They've grew up, and all those stupid things that you decided you want to post on social media come around to bite you in the ass.
Yep.
Yeah, I always say if I ever get famous, I'm gonna go back and delete my Twitter and just create a new. And there'll still be somebody to
I'm
find
changing my name.
it. But I
Right.
I'm
got
gonna
some
go as
stuff that I
legal.
know
I'm
that
changing my name.
I got some stuff that I
Okay.
know I said in my early 20s that would probably get me in trouble now. It's just that when you're that age, you ain't got no filter. So I mean,
And that's another issue I have with it. Just no statute of limitations on this stuff. I mean, if you tweeted something in 2011, it's 2018, and 7 years now, later, you're still going to be held accountable as if that's what you think now. So you got to be careful.
Yes, that is
factual,
very, very
factual,
true.
factual.
But let's go ahead and move it on because
I
we've
was
gotten
just
so
about to
off
say,
topic and everything.
yeah,
Let's go ahead and talk about SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. Well, first, before we jump into SummerSlam, I just want to give everybody a little bit of, you know, us getting the live experience earlier this week um, with Raw. It was definitely a great experience seeing the go home show. We got a lot of video and content that we've posted on Marking Out Amongst Friends, the Facebook page. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go take a look. Also, check out the Game Runners page. A lot of content posted up there as well. I think this was personally for me one of the best experiences that I had at a live show, and it made me to the point where I can't wait to go back.
Man, I had a ball. I was heckled a little bit about like my choice in wrestlers and stuff because I was sitting up kind of high up. I had a great view of the entrance ring, um, right there where they were coming out backstage and coming down to the ramp and all that good stuff. I was sitting right there, straight on. I got to see people who were coming out before they actually came out, um, or before their music actually hit. So I did like the seat that I was at. Don't get me wrong, but of course, there's always that one guy who, no matter who you cheer for, always has to run their mouth. There's always one. There's always one.
Mm-hmm.
And Lord knows, I'm going to say this if I offend anybody, I am truly sorry. But he was a Red Sox fan. So you know he's from Boston with a thick accent and had to think that he was better than everybody else. And his opinion was the only one that mattered. So I had to politely put him in his place. And I asked him, was he having fun? Because I was having fun and I was enjoying myself. So let me enjoy my time. And he shut up. Kill him with kindness. Sometimes it's what you have to do. But
factual.
Either way it goes, the show was incredible. Yes, it was crazy that there was a bat inside the Coliseum.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
That was real. That was not edited. That was actually real. There was a bat flying around the Coliseum. Ronda Rousey had a natural reaction to the bat.
That was one of my favorite moments.
She's the baddest woman on the planet. She's supposed to kick the bat. She ain't supposed to be scared.
She broke character for a second there. I mean, he just wanted a little piece of Ronda, you know. Hey, come on now.
He wanted to see
She's
what all the rowdiness was
What was
about.
she like in person? Is she bigger than expected? Smaller?
She's smaller. Well, for me personally, when I saw Ronda Rousey, I said it to my wife as well. I said she looked little in person. Like, I told my wife, I think you could probably take her, even though in my mind I was like, she probably put my wife ass. But you got to say something uplifting to your wife when you say somebody else is little. Like, man, you whoop her ass, But she was definitely smaller in person. Braun is a big son bitch in person. Braun Strowman, even from as far back as I was, definitely was still a larger than life character. He got a huge pop when he came out. If everybody doesn't already know, Braun Strowman is from North Carolina.
From North Carolina, yeah.
So it was just, it was get these hands chants, welcome home chants. It was a lot. It was Braun chants. Everybody was doing the roar. So, it was definitely big on him. And I think that if he ever becomes WWE champion or either Universal champion, I think that he's going to be a huge star when it comes down to it in the future. And then also one of the matches, the match that nobody got to see, there was a dark match that took place after the show. Everybody knows Dean Ambrose. When Dean Ambrose came back, the roof blew off the building. When he came back, everybody saw how big he was. He looks like, he's just been, eating cows for 3 meals a day, every day, and just working out. But
Renee.
Oh yeah, and smashing Renee, just eating, working out, and smashing Renee is all he's been doing for like the last 8 months. But it was a dark match, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lady Great, when it was a 8-man tag, I believe.
It was Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre on one end.
That was the heel team.
And on the other end, it was Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman.
Yeah, so Braun got to come back out and close the show out in the dark match. And like I said, even with Dean Ambrose being out there and getting a huge pop, Braun was getting all the love all night long. Every time that you saw him, he was getting all the love. So it was definitely a great experience. Once again, I can't wait to go to another Raw that they come back. But moving right along, one of the things with Raw is that this was the last Raw before SummerSlam. This was the go-home show. So this show actually set up the card or finished up setting up the card. So this is going to help us jump right into our SummerSlam 2018 predictions. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, as far as just going match by match and giving a full-on description. But I'm going to tell you pretty much, or we can tell you guys pretty much what we think the match is going to be, what we think the outcome is going to be for this. So right now, there's 13 matches on the card for SummerSlam. There's going to be a big 2 hour pre-show. So I think we got 3 matches on the pre-show. We got the B Team versus the Revival for the Raw Tag Team Championships. We have Rusev and Lana in a mixed tag team match versus Andrade Cien Almas, El Idolo, and Zelina Vega. And then we also got the Cruiserweight Championship match. So three championship matches on the pre-show. Cedric Alexander versus Gulak. We'll start with that one. I haven't been keeping up with 205 Live much. So if I'm just going off of pure talent and overness, I know these are two of the biggest guys that they got on 205 Live. I think that Cedric Alexander has had a long run. He won the title right before WrestleMania or on WrestleMania? When did he win the Cruiserweight title?
I don't even remember.
He won it at WrestleMania.
Was it at WrestleMania?
It was at WrestleMania. It was him versus Mustafa Ali, the Heart versus the Soul. He won it at WrestleMania, and I believe that was also on the pre-show.
Is he still? I know he had been undefeated up until that point, and for a few matches after that. Is he still undefeated this year?
Yes, he is still undefeated. He has successfully retained the title. He hasn't even lost a match since he became champion. As far as I know. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I did not watch the last 2 weeks of 205 Live as well. I know he fought Brian Kendrick and he beat him. And I know Jack Gallagher came out. So, yeah, it was some interference there. And then he was also supposed to fight this past week against Jack Gallagher. So I didn't see the outcome of that match. So as far as I know, he has not lost a match since he became the champ.
Yeah, I think that, and even before that, I think in the tournaments that they had leading up to it, I think that I want to say either since January or February he had been undefeated, which he had a very long streak that he went through. But that's neither here or there. I'm picking Drew Gulak to be the new Cruiserweight Championship or the new Cruiserweight Champion, just because I think that they need a heel run in 205 Live. I think Enzo was it. I think once Enzo left, the biggest heel that you could have would be with Drew Gulak, unless he's somehow changed the face. Like I said, I hadn't been keeping up, but I definitely am going for Gulak to win this one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I haven't really been keeping up with 205 Live. I don't think I ever did. I think the most I ever got into it was when Enzo was champion. I kind of liked what they was doing, and then he went through his issues. So, but if I had to make a pick, I'd channel my inner stat guy Greg and go with Cedric Alexander.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm currently just having a little snack real quick. So I'm going to get to my prediction here in just one moment. Let me not talk with my mouth full. Hold on.
Oh, no, do your thing. We're not hungry over on this side. So, I mean, just enjoy your bite. I'm not struggling over here at all.
Hey, it is what it is, man. Sometimes you just got to fend for yourself. It's one of those type of nights. But what I was saying, or what I was going to say, was that I believe that Cedric Alexander has had a nice run, but I think that Drew Gulak will take it this time so they can continue the feud and let his he's not doing the PowerPoint presentations anymore. Just to let y'all know. Drake Maverick did actually put a stop to him doing a PowerPoint presentation and made him or forced him to become a little bit more edgy. It's either that. So he's been just straight ruthless and straight going through people. So I think that Gulak will take it this time, and then they're going to have another, of course, rematch because champions rematch there. And I think that Drew Gulak will retain for a little bit until they can have a nice little feud with Mustafa Ali and Gulak. So I think Gulak's winning this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. I think that, like you said, you just need to spice up a couple of things to 205 Live. You got a GM now. You know, you got better matches that have been going on. You're going to constantly keep building the roster. Cedric Alexander needs to be on the main roster and not on 205 Live. That's just my personal opinion. It might be a little biased just because he's from Charlotte, but I think that he's way too good of a talent to actually be wasted away in 205. I think that he could definitely be a big mid card champion either on Raw or SmackDown. Even on NXT, he could probably be a great NXT champion. But once again, that's neither here or there. Sticking with the pre-show, moving right along. B Team, my favorite tag team in WWE right now. Just because I appreciate the ascension from being jobbers to being champion. I like that they're playing to the whole, B-level celebrity or B-team type gimmick. I'm loving the motivational speeches. It's tough to actually get them versus the Revival, who are probably the most talented tag team that we have. If not the most talented, it's probably top 2 or 3 talent as far as the tag team goes in the company. It's kind of picking the best or one of the best versus my favorite. Who do I want to pick in this situation? It's a pre-show. I don't see the Revival winning their first titles on the pre-show, so I'm going to go for the B team in this one.
Um, yeah, the B team is kind of their transition has kind of been. It reminds me of Rhino and Heath Slater
Mm-hmm.
and different things that they've done. Like they've done this so many times with different guys. One thing is that I'm kind of happy for Bo Dallas because he's just been suffering. So it's finally good for him to get a good push and a good run. I don't given what I think they think of the Revival. I kind of with you. I don't think they're gonna let them win their first title on a pre-show. I think they're gonna make it a little more memorable at like a off-brand pay-per-view or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it can get a little more attention. So I think for now they're gonna let this is gonna be like the culmination of the B team. So I'm going with the B team.
I think that I can see where both of y'all are saying B team on this, and I hate to have to agree, but I agree. But the only reason why I am going to agree is because they're going to use the B team as stepping stones for AOP.
Hmm.
So I believe that that's really what needs to happen. I think the AOP is the team that needs to be like dominant because they were one of the most dominant. Because I don't want them to do like they did with the Ascension.
Yeah, they meant. Yeah, that's a great point.
Absolutely.
That's a
So
And
great
that
point.
that was kind of our thought process when AOP first came, and when B Team first won the titles, I looked at it the same way. I said, you can't feed Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy to AOP, so you got to get the next best thing, or you got to get something that will not piss people off, so to speak. So I think it would be a safer move going with the B Team taking the L um, to AOP.
I mean, like since they've made the Ascension such a joke, I mean, I feel real bad for the Ascension.
I
Yeah, that
really
that is that is crazy because they were real hot in NXT, and then they just, I mean, they had like a week where they were, or two, or maybe a month where they was hot on the main roster, and all of a sudden they just, I mean, they're not even in the picture at all.
Like they were on main event.
hmm
Yeah,
And they lost on main event too, didn't they?
Yes, they did lose.
Oh my
I completely forgot who they even fought.
whoever they
Was
fought,
it
they
Titus
lost to.
Worldwide or no, no, no? It wasn't Titus Worldwide.
No, they were in that
They
AOP
fought
match.
Slater and Rhino. Sorry, that's it. They fought Slater and Rhino.
Rhino got a huge pop at Raw as well for some reason. Like, shout out to my boy Wayne. He started the ECW chant. Rhino came out as well. Um, but neither here or there. I don't want to get off topic again because I'll ramble on about a bunch of shit that don't mean nothing. Um, Next match on the pre-show, mixed tag match. I like the idea of this match, and you got two guys who are really over, and their valets who are really over as well. Um, I know a lot of people are not going to be happy with Rusev Day if he's not high on the card. I think that you know I think that he's going to maintain being over but I think that he needs to transition into this face run, and I think that he needs to drop. Uh, and he's so irrelevant, I can't think of his name either. Aiden English.
Aiden English, yeah.
He needs to drop Aiden English before he starts getting a serious run. But because Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega are a little bit newer than Rusev and Lana, I think that Andrade Cien Almas is probably going to come away with the victory here, and I think that Zelina Vega is going to end up pinning Lana to get the victory. Just in that way, you don't lose anything for Rusev or Andrade.
I
Yeah.
think I think that since all the matches that they've had on SmackDown that Vega and Cien Almas have won, I think that one more time Aiden English is going to try to come to the aid. He's going
Mm-hmm.
to cost them this match so then they can finally get rid of Aiden English with Rusev.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly where I was gonna go with it too. I felt like they were Aiden English. They're trying to get away from him with the whole Rusev Day thing. So like the last show when he didn't want English to come out to the ring, and then English still came out, cost him the match anyway. I just think that's the way to get the newer guys to win and still keep Rusev strong, keep him over, and further the feud between or the breakup between him and Aiden English. So that's where I was going with it as well.
And if you also noticed, and this is something I noticed when watching a little bit of SmackDown earlier this week. So Rusev and Lana are also kind of moving away from the accents and are having more of a Americanized, more of an English accent now than they had before. So that's another reason why I'm thinking that they're gonna go full fledged on this face push.
okay, you started fading back there a little bit, sir. But I think you were saying that this what's giving them a little bit more of a face push by dropping the accents.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You notice they've started to drop their accents a little bit. Like they'll do it to do their chants, but then when they're talking in the middle of the promo, I especially noticed it when Lana Tuesday, that she went straight to just her regular, everyday, you know, what's her real name is CJ something.
Yeah, CJ, I forget the real name.
But she seemed more like herself than playing the character Lana. Um, CJ Perry, that's her name.
Perry,
There we
yeah.
go. There we go. But
Mrs.
Rusev.
Perry, Mrs. Perry.
Oh my goodness. I'm not even gonna get started on Lana. Next match on the card. So we were all in agreement that Andre Cien Almas and Zelina Vega will probably come out victorious on this one. We go into the main card now. One of the matches that everybody has been looking forward to all year. The feud is finally happening on SmackDown, and they had promos for this feud the whole night Tuesday, and it made me so excited to see this feud that I have to clap on each syllable when I talk about it. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz is finally happening again.
8 years in the making. This is
Eight,
finally happening. I'll
eight
join
years.
you with the clapping on every syllable. Yes.
And part of me wishes if it was for a title, but even this feud doesn't even need a title because it gets you so drawn in and so invested. It's like the perfect WWE fan versus internet fan argument that you see on Facebook every day, culminated into a match. And you got the supreme indie guy in Daniel Bryan versus the supreme WWE guy and Miz. So it's just like, it's so much emotion tied behind it as well. Now, personally, this goes back to what I was saying with the Revival and B Team. You got somebody who, A, is one of my favorite guys in the company versus B, one of the best guys in the company, which makes it hard for me to make a decision. I think, though, however, the I think the result of this match is going to determine if they want to keep this feud long standing and try to maybe do it again by the time WrestleMania comes around. So I'm thinking if they want to take it that route, I think that Miz wins this match. If we want a long standing feud, Miz wins. I think that if you've done all the build up and you can, and you want this to be the last match, and then both guys to go their other ways, Daniel Bryan wins this match.
Now, I disagree with you to an extent on what you're saying there. Um, Personally, I think that the Miz needs this match more and as a W in his corner because of the fact that he had been shitted on quite a few times. Every high profile match that he's been in. Look at that trash match between him and Maurice and Cena and Nikki.
Mm.
That dump fest. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it was also Cena could propose to Nikki, and we see how that turned out. But at the end of the day, like, Miz does need a good high profile win again. He hasn't really had too many of those. I mean, yes, he's been the Intercontinental Champion, but in order for him to get a main event push, he has to get the monkey off his back, and that right now, no offense, is Daniel Bryan. I'm not saying he's monkey, he's a goat.
No racial.
I had to make sure that's clear. He's a goat. He's a goat. I mean, yes, this is such a culmination of years and years and years. This is a feud that's just that slow build, that boiling pot, because we all thought that he could never wrestle again. Everybody thought that. And then to come to find out that after 8 long years, and then after being retired for 2 long years.
3.
Was it I thought it was in 16 in which he retired, February of 16.
I want to say it was 15. Somebody can fact check us on that a little later. But it's neither here nor there. Continue.
Exactly. And for him, and then that one episode of Talking Smack, where he told him he needed to go back to the bingo halls. If you love this business so much, why don't you just quit? And then Daniel Bryan get the motivation to come back just to be knocked back down again from the Miz. I actually think that's kind of like a little boom. Okay, we appreciate your hard work, but we got to give it to somebody who's always worked hard.
Just so
and that's another thing about Miz.
Just so you know, it was February 8th. Just so you know, it was February 8th, 2016 that Daniel Bryan retired.
All right, so 2 years. You're right. I'm wrong. I stay back in the background.
I appreciate that fact check there. But yeah, so but still, like, this is just something that it works well on so many different levels, regardless of who wins. Because to me, this match is the most highly anticipated match on a card. If this match is the main event over Brock Lesnar, which I doubt, I highly, highly doubt it will be. But if this was the main event, this would be absolutely perfect main event.
Would be. I definitely agree.
Look, I don't think it would be a perfect main event now, considering that we just haven't had enough physical altercations between the two, in my opinion. To like, I think I think it should be the start of something kind of like what Shawn Michaels and Triple H went through in a way back when they were feuding on and off a lot. Because, like you said, this has been 8 years in the making. They really have just been talking trash to each other up until this point. So now they're about to get, they're just starting to get physical. And I want to see a long-standing, feud where one has the upper hand and then the other one has the upper hand, where somebody does something to jeopardize somebody's, to in the storyline jeopardize somebody's career. The whole, like, I want to see this long, drawn-out physical altercation between these two, because there's so much bad blood there that I think this could be a great start, which is why I feel like The Miz is going to get the win here somehow or another, whether it be, a dirty finish, or Daniel Bryan gets distracted. I don't think he's going to beat him straight up, because I don't know if it'll beat him clean. I don't think that's going to be the push he gets. But somehow Miz is going to get the win to further the feud, because, like, I think I agree with Jonathan when he was like, if Daniel Bryan wins now, it's kind of over. So I think they should, being that they haven't had a long physical history, I feel like that's where they should go. So I'm hoping that Miz gets the win, so we can kind of see this thing really turn into a physical battle for at least up until WrestleMania.
But the only problem with this is Daniel Bryan's contract is up next month.
Right, and that's that. And you know, I was going to mention that. I was going to mention the standing of Daniel Bryan also has a lot to play into it because I don't think he still hasn't resigned. So
no, he has not.
WWE may just give Miz the win just to be safe in case he doesn't.
Exactly.
Factual. All right, moving right along to the next match on the card. Once again, Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. I haven't really been interested in much into this feud since it's been started.
I want the Demon back.
You want? Huh?
I want the Demon back.
I mean, I would love if he debuted the Demon again. I would hate that he's wasting it on Baron Corbin. But
I mean, wouldn't that diminish the Demon that he needs the Demon to beat
Baron Corbin? Exactly. Somebody to see exactly where I'm coming from on this.
I didn't say that he needed the Demon to beat Baron Corbin. All I said was I just want to see the Demon back. That's all. I didn't say he needed the Demon right now. I just said I wanted to see the Demon back.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Baron Corbin's trash.
Shut up. Don't you talk about my Corbin now.
Constable.
I don't think you should waste the Demon on Baron Corbin. You can save him for bigger fish.
I don't think you should waste a pay-per-view spot on the main card on Baron Corbin. But that's neither here or there as well. Usually when I pick Finn Balor, he loses. But with this whole feud that he's been having with Baron Corbin, I think the last pay-per-view I picked Finn Balor that he actually won. So I'm going to keep picking Finn Balor in this feud. I don't have anything else to say about that. Finn's going to win.
Yeah, I would pick Finn too, only because I don't think they would give Baron Corbin the push to beat Finn Balor at SummerSlam.
And I'm going to be the oddball, and I'm going to pick Corbin because Finn won the last one. So Corbin's going to win the rubber match just because he needs the push in that direction. So I'm just going to disagree with you guys here.
But if he wins, then we're gonna have to watch this again, and I don't wanna.
No, there doesn't. This is the rubber match. This is the last one to settle the score. Okay, so Corbin got the better of Finn. It's going to be a dirty win, but he gets the better of him, and then Finn can move on to bigger and better fish, like say Dolph for the title. Maybe I don't know. I'm just kind of putting it out there, Just kind of fishing, Throwing my bait out, see if anything gets caught,
I'm not biting on that one. I'm not.
Yeah, Finn and Dolph. I don't know. They're both good workers. I don't know how much.
You're not gonna get.
You need some mic skills somewhere.
I was gonna say you're not gonna, and not to say that Seth Rollins is not great on. I mean, is great on the mic because he's not great on the mic either. But Seth Rollins is really, the stock on Seth Rollins is really high right now, and that's what's really making the feud between Dolph, because Seth Rollins is already in the spotlight and highlighted as the best worker on Raw, and he's going against Dolph, who he and Drew McIntyre are kind of establishing their dominance as well. So it's a win-win. It's building both of them. I don't think that if Dolph walks away as the champion from that feud, that you get the same build with Finn Balor as you do Dolph, unless the Demon comes back. But
unless he brings the Demon back? Is that what you said?
Unless he brings the Demon back, and then that may make it interesting. And since we're on the subject of that match, we'll go ahead and move on to that one. Singles title match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Champion Dolph Ziggler with Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins and the returning Dean Ambrose. Dolph Ziggler's going to win this match. Dean Ambrose is going to screw Seth Rollins over. Dean Ambrose is going to be a heel. And not only is he going to be a heel, he is probably going to be the biggest heel on Raw within the next couple of months with the departing Brock Lesnar. I think that we only got a few months left with Brock Lesnar. I don't think that you see him much anymore. As a matter of fact, I don't think you see Brock Lesnar in 2019 in WWE.
Well, I agree that Dean Ambrose is probably gonna not Dean Ambrose. I agree that Dolph is gonna win, but I'm just so weary. Like the WWE, sometimes they're so predictable, and then sometimes you feel like this is what's gonna happen, and it doesn't. Like I've been thinking Sasha and Bailey was just gonna turn on each other for the longest, and they keep teasing that forever. So somehow I feel like Dolph is gonna retain because I think him and McIntyre right now are pretty good. I think they want to ride that, and I think they want to push Seth into Dean. But I don't know if they're gonna do it on this pay-per-view. Like I don't really know if they're gonna push it at SummerSlam. Mainly because I feel like anytime the universe is calling for something, they decide not to do it, almost as like a FU to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely. The only other thing that I can see happening is Dolph Ziggler losing by disqualification and retaining the title, and then we kind of build another feud of Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre out of this as well. And we ultimately get a tag match.
I think all the signs point to what you said because Ambrose look is that of a heel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the big hulking guy. I just think it points to that, but I just don't know if they're going to do it.
It's going to happen eventually, but I'm not sure, like you were saying, I'm not sure that it's going to culminate here. It would be nice because, yeah, that's what everybody wants. Okay, out of all this time, the only person who's really had Seth's back has been Roman. And since Roman is busy, he had to go find somebody else. He goes find Dean, but Dean never forgot how Seth screwed him. So it may not happen just yet, but it's going to happen eventually. So
I've heard some good angles. Like people have said that, you know, you could run the fact that Dean was upset that the next week after he got hurt, they already had Jason Jordan in his place with Roman Reigns. It was like, yo, you think you can replace me that easy? Blah, 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 blah. So I've heard some good angles that I feel like will work pretty well. I just don't think they're going to do it because they just have a history of not doing the obvious thing that when you look at it and be like, this is what they should do. More than likely, that's not what they're going to do. So.
But I never did give my prediction on this match, but we all agree here. I think that Dolph will win by some form of fashion, via disqualification or something. He's going to win.
I think the thing that would shock me the most is if Dolph Ziggler won this match clean. But I don't see that happening. Next match on the card, we're going to have the other mid-card title from SmackDown, WWE's United States Championship. A lot of lineage behind that title. Currently the champion, Shinsuke Nakamura, versus the Enigma, Jeff Hardy. This is another one similar to the Finn Balor, Baron Corbin prediction. I don't really have much to say. I'm going with Shinsuke. I think that you want to have a more lasting run with Shinsuke because he's a character that you want to be invested in for the future. And I think that Jeff Hardy is right now holding that spot until we eventually get one more Hardy Boys run before Matt retires.
I'm going with Shinsuke on this just because of the fact that I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Orton and like how this program is kind of working out. So I'm going to give Shinsuke this one as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say the same thing. Shinsuke, basically because I feel like Orton is going to interfere and they're going to push Orton and Hardy.
We'll just have to see how that goes, pending.
Factual.
Given light of the recent allegations, so.
Factual.
And we're not going to touch those ones with a 10-foot pole. At least I'm
not touching that.
Yeah,
I'm not touching that.
And that's what they said in the office when he asked to shake his hand. Oh! I was ready. I was ready for that moment.
Just hand, man.
The next match on the card is the triple threat for the SmackDown Women's title. Champion Carmella is going to defend her title against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. For this one, I have the champion coming out victorious and remaining SmackDown Live's Women's Champion. I think that we end up seeing friction between Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and this will eventually culminate in a match between the two. And they will stay far away from the women's title probably until the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019.
I see with impending evolution coming up, I do see Becky and Charlotte ended up being in a feud amongst each other. Since we didn't get Sasha and Bailey like we had been hoping for, maybe this is the swerve of, okay, so instead of you getting Sasha and Bailey, you're going to get Becky and Charlotte. Have those horsewomen go at it. So as much as I hate to say it, Charlotte did hit a most powerful nerve on Tuesday night when she said that you are a diva in a women's era. I mean, that just right now signified to me that Carmella's going to win.
She's the perfect heel. She's everything. As a matter of fact, Carmella is almost everything that you said that Eva Marie would have been.
That's exactly what I was alluding to.
But I don't think I think Eva Marie would have did it a whole lot better in the sense that she was not as good as Carmella. You know, and I think that would have made people even more, because I think people respect Carmella and what she's doing, even though as her heel work. People would not have respected Eva Marie's heel work. They would have hated her guts, and she would have got legit heat. But this is the match I'm actually looking forward to the most on the SummerSlam card. And it's mainly because I feel like there's so many different ways that they can go. I feel like the angles you guys pointed out earlier is definitely viable options. And I feel like though the only difference is that the title may be in play. I could easily see how maybe Becky may have the title won or Charlotte may have the title won, and one of them cost the other the title by, doing something dirty and then winning the title, and then that rolling into Evolution as a battle for the belt. I could see it going where Carmella retains the way both of you guys said it. So I really don't know how the match is going to end up. I do believe somehow Charlotte and Becky is going to end up at each other's throats. And we're going to see that moving into Evolution. But I mean, the prediction to me is so up in the air because this is the only match I don't really know or have an idea as to what the outcome, where they're going to go with the storylines of these three characters or these three wrestlers after this match. But if I had to make a prediction, I would probably say, given that it's SummerSlam, I can easily see them throwing a monkey wrench into it and somebody beating Carmella. I would say just out of, I would say it's Becky Lynch, and somehow Becky Lynch goes heel. So that would be my prediction.
Okay.
I will say that Becky's going to go heel. There's no way around it. It's just been too many times in which she's been overlooked. There's been too many times in which like her hard work has not paid off for her. And I could really see either way happening, like either it be for the title with Becky stealing it from Charlotte or stealing it from Carmella rather, and taking the pin away from Charlotte. Let Charlotte do all the hard work, just like because in that little tag team match, and Charlotte was like, well, you didn't have to do it alone.
Right.
So they're kind of pushing the whole Becky's tired of standing in Charlotte's shadow. The Iconics even came out there and said, oh, where's Becky? Oh, we can't see her. Oh, there she is in Charlotte's shadow. I mean, the promos they have been cutting with this has been really, really intriguing. So I do agree with you there, Mr. Stratisfaction, that I'm sorry I had to put that out there because we were talking about the women and everything. Yeah. So Mr. Stratisfaction had to agree with you.
Who will be at Evolution, by the way.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But somehow or another, they're going to culminate at Evolution. I don't know how. Haven't figured out what's going to happen, but I don't want to look too much forward into that. That's going to be another topic of discussion at a later time in season 2. Be sure to catch us because we're definitely revisiting that one. So,
Factual. Um, so the next match on the card, um, Bludgeon Brothers, SmackDown Live Tag Champs versus the New Day. I
crickets. Sorry. Oh, okay. I woke up from a
I
bathroom
feel
break.
I feel the same way, and this is
Yeah,
why.
bathroom break.
I feel the same way. This is why. This is nothing against the New Day at all. I think that the Bludgeon Brothers' reign has been very underwhelming,
Right.
and
Extremely.
I feel like this is a
Agreed.
power ploy. I feel like this is a power move, saying that hey, we're gonna go ahead and end this whole run and just throw the titles in the New Day because we know we can get a good run out of the New Day, even though they've been champions 100 times. Um, I think this is. I think that's the reason why New Day ends up winning this tournament. To get this spot is because I think that the Bludgeon Brothers not doing well with holding these titles, and I think that you got to get it off of them. And I think the New Day will eventually drop the titles to Sanity. So I'm going to go with the New Day winning this one.
Yeah, I hope the New Day wins. Only because the Bludgeon Brothers just, like you said, they don't move me at all. They just haven't really done anything. It's a snore fest when it comes to them for me. So I'm predicting that the New Day will win. And I just think, like you said, they're gonna go back to old reliable, what they know works, and move on from there. I wish it would have been the Usos, but I can settle for the New Day.
I'm gonna bring them up
Personally,
later
I
on.
wish it would have been the bar.
Yeah, I would have rather seen the Bar as
It could
tag
have been
champs
them
than the
too.
Bludgeon Brothers. Pretty much every tag team on SmackDown, other than the Bludgeon Brothers. The only thing I like about the Bludgeon Brothers are the sledgehammers and the theme song.
I like the music.
You're gonna say the theme song is hot as all get out, but you wasting a hot theme song on a trash tag
But
team.
I feel like it's hard to do a Bludgeon Brothers gimmick in today's WWE, mainly because you can't get as brutal and as violent as you used to, and I think that's what would have put them over the top if they would have, like, the way that they came out and destroyed the Usos in the New Day in their tag team match. They should have amped that up, and you could have did that in an era like the Attitude Era where you had guys that could come out and be brutal and be violent and be somebody like the APA or the Acolytes or something like that. But um, I just feel like because they have to temper the violence, that these guys are all about just destroying people, and they can't really do that. So they have to do these things that are just not as it's just not there for me. So
I agree, and I'm gonna be 100% completely honest. If they had not already been the Wyatt family, and I had not already seen them on TV for 4 or 5 years,
great point.
I would probably be more interested in the Bludgeon Brothers. Like if they debuted as this gimmick and I had never seen them before, I would probably like them more than I do.
Right. I agree with that.
Oh, there is one more tag team I completely forgot about because they don't ever get on TV anymore, which is the Good Brothers. Yes, I know they already fought the Bludgeon Brothers, or the club, should I say. Um, but yeah, um, that's another team that should have been like pushed. I think that there's the one area in which WWE has always lacked as of lately is in the tag division, at least for the men. There's not a women's tag division yet, but the tag division is almost comical.
Right.
They should have won the
So
titles.
like you've got like a great team that's come up together like Sanity. You've got a great team that's come up together like AOP and like the Revival and the Ascension. But then you got people that you just thrown together in tag teams,
I think it's
winning
just
the championships.
I think it's a matter of
They have
time before
nothing
you
in
see.
common.
I think it's a matter of time before
So,
you see them with AJ Styles though, and I think that's one of the reasons why that they may not have
but
won the tag team
Whatever
titles.
happened to Gallows and Anderson?
that's what I was just talking about.
Oh, okay.
The Good
The
Brothers, the
boys,
club.
The Good
The boys.
Brothers.
And
But,
you never know, we might.
I
Go
think
ahead,
that's
go
the
ahead.
problem is that they have. I mean, you just named like what 5, 6 tag teams. So they have enough tag teams. They just don't use them correctly. They don't. I mean, the Ascension was so huge in NXT, and you see they don't use them. Anderson and Gallows was like these big free agents. Everybody couldn't wait for the club to come, and you see how they use them. They just don't really use the talent. Creative doesn't use them in a way that gets them over, or gives them storylines that, you know, cater to their strengths. So we just get these piece of crap, and then they go back to what has somehow worked. And a lot of times, what's worked has been a mistake, like or has been something that we stumbled upon, like the New Day. They didn't really plan the New Day. The New Day just kind of they put them together. It didn't work at first, and then they figured it out, and now they have a reliable source. But it's
And
hard,
for 4 years, they've been a reliable source.
right?
They are the longest reigning faction in WWE history.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yes. 4 years ago in July, they started the New Day. And they are the current longest reigning faction in WWE history. They've lasted longer than every other faction.
They debuted
I
4
mean,
years ago.
they were.
Oh man,
So, sorry?
I said they debuted 4 years ago. It doesn't even seem like it's been that long.
It don't. Yeah, it don't seem like it's been that long.
Yes, they debuted as heels 4 years ago.
Gosh, I
And they
completely
became-
forgot they were heels as well. They did
Yeah, that's
so.
true. Yeah.
They did such an
'Cause
amazing job as
debuted
faces.
with the church music and the choir singing and
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. So dang.
I completely remember that now. And then I remember Xavier Woods was coming out cutting promos, and we thought this was going to be like a new Nation of Domination type
Right.
group. And everybody was disappointed when they did the church music and came out with the towels. And then when they hit their stride as faces, that was it.
Right.
Yep.
I think this is definitely a Hall of Fame worthy tag team now.
Oh, for sure. And I
in
think
the future.
Francesca really helped them get over too, because once he got the trombone and he started playing the trump, they took off.
Factual. So now we're going to get part of the show, or not part of the show, but it's part of SummerSlam that I call the Big Four. So we got 4 matches left. So let's go ahead and strap it in for this one. First and foremost, the only non-title match that's left on the card, but it is a stipulation. Big Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens. Singles match for the Money in the Bank contract. Big match. Big stipulation. If Braun Strowman loses in any way, shape, or form, if he loses by count out, by disqualification, however he loses, Kevin Owens wins the Money in the Bank contract. So really, this is almost damn near lose-lose situation for Braun Strowman, because Kevin Owens could come out there and pretend that Braun Strowman hit him with a chair, or Kevin Owens could get Sami Zayn to come out and attack him. To just
Sami Zayn is out for the remainder of the year with 2 torn rotator cuffs.
In a wrestling role, he is not able to fight. But he could come out and either on crutches or in a wheelchair and still be a part of the show.
That is true.
Yeah. Even though I think it would be more likely that it's Jinder Mahal and
more
Sunil
likely
Singh.
to be Jinder Mahal. And then
Kevin Owens is going to win this match, though.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Kevin Owens is going to win this match as well. And I think if Kevin Owens does win the briefcase, he's going to probably try to cash it in before they try to put him in another match to try to put it back on the line. So I'm definitely going to go Kevin Owens on this one. I hate to do it to you, Braun. You deserve to keep the Money in the Bank, but in my gut, all signs are pointing to Kevin Owens winning this match right now.
Well, as much as I hate to say it as well, there's just too much that I don't like about this match. There's just way too much I don't like about it. I don't like the fact that Kevin Owens essentially got a second chance at Money in the Bank. Nobody else has ever done that. I do not like the fact that he was even in the Money in the Bank match and lost. and he's still getting
Right.
another chance at it.
Adam Cole.
And it was a fair win for Braun Strowman. So I do not like the fact that they made a stipulation and gave him another match on it. So all signs point to Kevin. But Braun Strowman really doesn't need it. He doesn't need a Money in the Bank. But just imagine how imposing of a figure Braun is and has been with this title or with Money in the Bank. Yeah, he hasn't done anything yet or teased anything because Brock's never freaking there.
Right.
So, it's kind of hard to intimidate somebody when they're not even in the building.
Right.
Factual.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Owens had saw Brock step into a UFC ring and just like, boom, okay, we're going to do this now. I got a ref.
Now, that would be awesome.
That would be one of the greatest cross-promotion things that I've ever seen.
That would be, like, I don't know what I would do if that ever happened, but that would be the greatest thing that's ever happened in sports entertainment ever. I don't
know what you could do to top that.
If somehow, like, let's say Brock wins a UFC match, and then Braun just comes out of the crowd and just hits him with the power slam in the UFC ring, and then the referees from the WWE is there, and he takes the belt off of him. That would be ridiculous.
That would be the biggest Dana White move ever with Vince McMahon and Triple H. I mean, that would culminate in so many things. It's going to be the headline of the decade for ESPN.
I mean, I'm about to say, that would lead SportsCenter. Like, that would lead off SportsCenter. That would cancel LeBron James. That would cancel Tiger Woods. The fact that in a UFC match, especially if Brock Lesnar wins and he's now like the first ever WWE and UFC champion, and then here comes Braun Strowman out of nowhere,
or Kevin Owens, or anybody,
like it don't matter who it would be. I think it would be better if it was Braun, but you're right, it don't matter who it would be. Whoever the Money in the Bank is, if they would come out and take that belt from him at a UFC event, that would be crazy. That would be like, they already do so many interchangeable, like with UFC guys going to WWE and WWE guys going to UFC. That would just be, I would pop hard for that.
How crazy would that be? You up here paying for a UFC pay-per-view, and all of a sudden, after Brock fights, he wins the title. Then you hear Kevin Owens' music hits, or then you hear Braun Strowman music hits, and they come marching down. I mean, that to me just screams more Kevin Owens than Braun Strowman.
It does. It does. It seems like some
headlines, and I think they should both consider doing something like that, because that would be unbelievable.
It would be an instant star power for either one of those guys. Like, either Kevin Owens or Braun Strowman, whoever gets that spot, you're instantly a star, because now you're made outside of the WWE.
Yeah.
In that one moment. So you might be, this could potentially turn either one of them into the next, Stone Cold or The Rock or Hulk Hogan in that moment. So that's really a huge moment if that was to happen.
That's swerves and curves for the night right there. Swerves and curves.
Swerves and curves. All right, so let's move on to our championship matches left on the card. Since we just talked about Brock, I'm going to jump right into this one. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, singles title for Universal title. I was just saying to this guy at my job earlier today that it is pointing, and this is similar to what I was just saying earlier with another match, but it is pointing so hard to Roman Reigns winning this match right now that I feel like he's going to lose again. And I feel like
the
Brock
impending
Lesnar,
screw.
Yeah, I don't even think he's going to get screwed. I think he's going to get his ass kicked and lose again.
No. I'm just saying it's the impending screw of Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah, the impending screw of Roman Reigns, the Samoan screw job, if you will. But I for some reason, just like my gut was telling me Kevin Owens is winning that match, my gut is telling me that Brock Lesnar is going to win this match.
People are so tired of seeing Brock with the belt. It's almost comical to even imagine him retaining. And just for that simple fact alone, that's WWE going, haha, we're still gonna not give you what you want.
Gotcha,
It's like,
bitch.
okay, we're dangling the carrot right in front of you.
Yeah.
Brock's gonna keep the title.
And they're good for that. They are great for doing that. They just, you know, just like when Brock broke the Undertaker streak, it was just like nobody thought that could happen, and then there it goes, boom. I feel like that's exactly what is going to happen. Somehow they're going to let Brock retain because if the WWE universe screams for something loud enough, they're not going to give it to you right away. And I feel like if Roman does somehow win, he's going to get cashed in on, and he's going to lose it right away. Either way, he's not going to walk out with the title, whether he wins or loses. But I'm rooting for him to lose just out of the simple percentage points that what we talked about earlier in the UFC can actually happen. And that can't happen if Brock don't have the belt. So that's why I'm hoping Brock wins.
Pretty much.
I was just throwing a hypothetical out there, but still, it's just like you're dangling. They keep dangling the carrot of in your face, just like they have with Bayley and Sasha.
Right.
Oh, dangling that carrot. We're dangling that carrot. Oh, guess what? They're getting a tag team. So it's like, oh, we're dangling that Roman Reigns carrot. Oh, you got to be quicker than that.
I feel
That's
like
basically what it is.
I just did not. I don't see Roman winning. I just don't see Roman Reigns winning this match because, like you stated earlier today, we talk about stuff that's predictable. But like the Paul Heyman thing was about to be way too predictable if he didn't attack Roman Reigns Monday. You know, the only thing that I could see happening, which once again because he mentioned it, and I want it, I don't think it's going to happen. But has anybody noticed that you haven't seen the Usos in a minute? And Paul Heyman just up and mentions the Usos as the future of the company Monday night.
Right.
Yeah.
So
conveniently name drop.
Mm-hmm. So what if they start this bloodline, this whole bloodline stable that they were supposed to start a few years ago that they never completed? Or, as a matter of fact, no. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking, what if the Usos come out there and screw Roman Reigns?
Now that would be awesome.
Paul Heyman had to mention the Usos.
But also, I think if that bloodline faction, if Heyman's the mouthpiece, that I can get with that too. Either one of those scenarios, I would love to see.
Well, there's also 3 other elements on the other side that can be thrown into the quote unquote bloodline if you want to do it like that. 3 women.
Yeah.
Because you hadn't seen Tamina in forever. Right. And where's Nia? And where's Naomi? So, unless Naomi's knocked up right now, that'd be the only thing. Right. Speculation on that. We don't know. There was speculation, rumor surface. So I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but she has not been on TV.
None of them have really, like Nia, none of them since, especially not Nia since the last pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Naomi's been out for a while. The Usos been gone, so yeah, I could see that happening.
And it's SummerSlam, so it's a big pay-per-view. So I could definitely see that happening. Jumping right along into the next match on the card.
Hold up. And the return of The Rock. And a return of The Rock. You got to throw that in there. A return of The Rock, at least for one time only.
He could definitely endorse him. Speaking of Samoans,
it didn't work out too well for him last time, though.
No,
just one time. I just said one time.
Not about endorsing Roman Reigns. The Rock endorsing Roman Reigns. It didn't work out for him last time.
Hey, I'm just saying, like, Brock coming back just to help against Brock. We never did get Brock and Rock like we really wanted to.
Right.
The Rock has mentioned both of those guys as guys that he would potentially want to return to wrestle. So he could come out there and The Rock could screw Roman Reigns as well, which would be really huge at putting Roman over, because people are going to be cheering the mess out of The Rock if he screwed Roman Reigns out of the shot, and then they're going to be begging for that match.
Yeah, The Rock can't be more over than he already is, though. So that would be, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I
But
wouldn't mind
Okay.
seeing The Rock.
speaking
No.
of Samoans, in the next match we
Yes.
have the WWE Championship. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe.
I'm
Similar to
going Joe
last
on
month,
this one.
similar to last month, I think that WWE is so high on on AJ Styles, specifically with WWE 2K19 coming out soon, and he's the cover athlete, as well as I think there's a promotional tournament to beat legendary AJ Styles or to beat him on a legendary difficulty when the game comes out, if we're like $1 million prize or something. So I think that right now AJ Styles is really, really big as a face. Now I want Samoa Joe to win with everything in my heart. I wanted him to be a world champion since he's come to the main roster. But for some reason, I'm feeling like AJ Styles is going to retain.
Yeah, Samoa Joe. I'm kind of in your category here, Jonathan. When you were saying like your favorite versus the best,
Mm-hmm.
like AJ Styles is definitely one of the best on the roster, and I like AJ Styles, and I love his entrance music. But Samoa Joe is like probably my favorite wrestler right now. Like I love his moxie. I love the way he handles himself, his ring generalship. But I just don't see him winning. I think AJ Styles right now is just too hot. I think Joe's a good opponent, but I think Styles is gonna come out with the win.
And once again, I have this problem as well. But my problem is a little bit different. It's not my favorite versus the best. Um, my problem is they're almost doing Joe the same way they did Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
Every single high profile match that Joe has been in since being on the main roster, he's lost. They said did the same thing with Bray. You
mm-hmm.
had build and build this great character in Bray to have him lose. So that's my main concern. That's why I want Joe to win. I really think he's going to win because he's getting in AJ Styles' head.
Right.
So I think that maybe that's going to play a little bit. I mean, the feud's not going to end by any means, but I think that he's going to drop it and then pick it back up to kind of just shake things up a little bit because he did just surpass JBL for the longest reigning SmackDown champion since its conception. So I'm saying maybe it's going to do that to break up the timeline. And since they've been making such a big deal out of him being on this and doing this challenge, I think that maybe it's going to go in Joe's favor because of all that. So I'm going Joe.
Factual,
Yep. I
factual.
have to agree.
I can't disagree with that. I'm going to go. If Samoa Joe wins, it's going to be something controversial. Or, as a matter of fact, no, I'm going to take that back. If Samoa Joe wins, I think he's going to shock the universe and he's going to win clean in this instance. And it's going to be used to kind of put him over as a top guy as well. And besides, we haven't seen a heel beat a major face at a pay-per-view in quite some time cleanly, so to speak. So I think that it would have a lot of shock value behind it as well.
I don't want a damn low blow finish again.
Yeah.
I'm tired of AJ's nuts getting low blowed. We
Which
had
is
enough of that
something
with Nakamura.
which is
Right.
something you will never hear his wife say. But moving right along, last match of the night, I wanted to save this women's match because I knew there was so much build behind it. For the last match that we would go over, Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. It's not the fact of do I think that Ronda will ever win the title. It's the question of are they ready to pull the trigger on it right now? And I think that as big of a star as she is, I would not be surprised if they pull the trigger. However, in my heart, I think that Alexa Bliss retains just so you can squeeze a little bit more out of this feud and add a little bit of depth to it. So I'm thinking Alexa Bliss is gonna win by some cheap way, and they're gonna keep this feud up into either Survivor Series when we get a team, Rousey versus Team Bliss, or this can culminate into Evolution as the main event.
I'm afraid
Um,
for Alexa Bliss's safety in this match. I really am because I feel like Ronda Rousey is a huge star, but I don't think she's nowhere near ready to be WWE Women's Champion. And I feel like while she has definitely shown she has some potential in the ring, I feel like she's just too green when it comes to the way she executes her moves. I mean, like when she was slinging Alexa Bliss or Foxy's arm around, I was afraid. I thought she was gonna really break the girl's arm. I thought she had like a flashback that she was in the UFC, and I just think she has to understand more ring generalship and just because being WWE Women's Champion, you got to be a versatile. You got to be versatile in order to be able to handle whatever program that they throw at you. And while I think outside the ring and the publicity that she would bring would be that of a champion, I just think being able to hold her own inside the ring, she's not hated like Eva Marie, so her not being able to wrestle is not going to be to her advantage. So I feel like I actually hope Bliss is retains because I feel like Ronda just she's on her way. She definitely if she sticks at it, she's gonna definitely be good. I just don't feel like she's ready now.
um, for this one, I it's too hard to call for me. It is definitely you've got the greenness in Ronda, but you also have that. Okay, if you don't do it now, then when is the time to do it? Um, if you wait too late and pull the trigger too late, then something might happen. I don't know. I haven't quite figured this one out yet. So I'm going to go Ronda wins it just because if they don't strike now, when is the time to strike?
Well,
And I think
I feel like WWE missed their opportunity to strike fast and hard with Ronda Rousey before she got knocked out by Holly Holm. I think you could have easily billed her as the baddest woman on the planet when she was making when she was making Fast and the Furious and doing all these appearances and appearing in movies. I think she should have made her transition then. It would have been hard because she was current UFC Women's Champion, and she would have probably had to vacate her belt or maybe she was under contract. But I think all of the real potential got or potential for you to come in ready, set, go from the start was knocked out of you when Holmes dropped you because you could have really realistically billed her as the baddest woman on the planet. Now we know that's her wrestling gimmick. Like we know that she's not the baddest woman on the planet. She's in WWE because she kept getting beat up in the UFC. So I feel like had it been 2-3 years earlier before she took the beating, you could have easily given her the belt in her first match and been like, "This is Ronda Rousey, current UFC champion, the baddest woman on the planet." But and it wouldn't have mattered because of who she was, and you could have let her beat people in record time like she was doing in the UFC. You could have easily transitioned that gimmick over. But now that I think she has to rebuild herself as a WWE wrestler. Develop a move set other than just hitting somebody with that judo throw and then putting them in an armbar.
Mm-hmm. Or doing that sloppy Samoan drop that
Yeah,
she does.
which is like almost about to break people's necks.
Mm-hmm.
well, she has improved a lot on that already. So
Well, she definitely has improved.
Yeah, she's improved.
She's improved since her first match against Stephanie.
Yeah,
And
she's
Triple H.
improved. And that was really good for a debut. Like, that
Yeah,
was
it
really,
was.
really, for somebody who's never wrestled a match on television before, like, that was a really good match for
Right.
somebody starting off. And that's why I feel like the culmination of knowing that she's going to keep getting better with the star power that she has, I feel like you can afford to
to
keep
bet on.
waiting. Yeah, you can afford to build on her and allow her to get better before you put the title on her. I think she's a rare case in that instance that you can actually do that with. Um, and I really think that if you give her her title too fast, then you kind of diminish a lot of her star power as well because, if she wins the title and somebody beats her for it, then it's like there's nothing else that I want to see from Ronda Rousey anymore. You already won the title. What else
Right.
do I need from you?
Well, I mean, I think that they can definitely build it to where she definitely is going to have to face Charlotte at some point in time. She's going to have to face Shayna at some point in time. So, I mean, if she if she is able to become champ and right now, like just kind of like low key, I hate to say this, but pull a Brock and like not defend it. I really don't want that to happen. So I'm actually going to change my vote and say, I'm gonna go Alexa because it's too it's too green. On second thought, it is a little bit too green, and I don't want her to. But I don't want Alexa to win clean. She cannot win this one clean at all. It has to
I
be a disqualification count out. It has to be something because that way you can't like take the baddest woman on the planet gimmick.
I
Factual,
agree.
They're
factual,
doing that.
I
factual,
agree. I think Alexa can't win clean. That hurts Rousey.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Getting to.
factual. So before we end the show, we still have to go into a takeover. Takeover is not even close to as long of a card, so we don't have 13 matches to go through on this one. Um, 5 matches. NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4. Um, for some reason, the way that they format NXT is like, the phrase "less is more." They get some of the strongest pay per views that I see out of this 5 match format. And with the card that they have right now, I don't see it being any different. As a matter of fact, I don't see a bad match out of those 5 on the card. I don't see anything that's being lower than a 3.5 star match for any of these matches. So let me just jump right into it. So the only match on the card that is not for a title, Velveteen Dream, which probably got the biggest future in NXT, versus the one percenter, EC3, Ethan Carter the third. I'm not gonna go first this time. You guys can go first. Either whoever wants to go first. Who you got in this match?
Mr. Stratisfaction, you're the guest. By all means, sir.
Oh man. Well, the thing about it is, I I very seldom get a chance to watch NXT. Um, it's already 5 hours on Monday and Tuesday. Uh, by the time Wednesday come along, now I will say this: I do get to watch it a little more now because basketball season is over. Like I'm just a huge NBA head, so when basketball season is on, I barely get a chance to watch Raw or SmackDown. But um, from what I know a little bit about the card because I listened to the Stone Cold podcast and him and I can't think of the guy's name now. That always he goes Wade Keller. Him and Wade Keller talked about it. Um, and just given from what I've heard, I'm gonna have to go with Velveteen Dream.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Um, once again, it goes into the same factor as I was talking about earlier. Velveteen Dream has lost every high profile match that he has been in. And I hate to keep saying that and keep pointing that out, but it's true. I
Mm-hmm.
love the Velveteen Dream. He is an absolutely great character, but he has not won a single high profile match yet. So
That
my
means,
heart
that means
is
he's
saying
due.
Dream, but my brain, just from the the past experiences is saying EC3. And either way, it's a no-lose situation to me because Velveteen's still going to be over regardless of whether or not he loses. EC3 is still going to be over regardless of whether or not he loses because it's not going to stop the momentum that either of them have for NXT. So my head's saying EC3, my heart's saying Velveteen.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree. He's like the NXT version of Finn Balor. It's like I want him. I call EC3. I mean, not EC3. Velveteen to win every takeover when he has a big match, and I don't get it. You know, he lost to Ricochet. He lost to Aleister Black. Um, he lost
He lost the North American
the
Championship.
North American Championship match in the 6-man tag. And it's like with someone like the Velveteen Dream, and you know, I'm going to spend a lot of time praising him really quick. Well, not a lot of time. I'll spend a little time praising him really quick. It's so many layers to the Velveteen that you just can't help but like. You know, the first thing is to take a gimmick like the one that he has and really shine with that gimmick and really shine as a character to where he's probably got the best character in mic skills in NXT right now. On top of that, you mix in that he has a great character and then he can talk. His wrestling is just as good. And then on top of the wrestling being as good, he's a guy who's really a fan at heart, just like us. He showed so much wrestling and knowledge and fanship when he was in the Tough Enough competition. So there's that layer to it. And then on top of that, not to piss any of my, listeners out there who may not be black, but on top of that, he's a black wrestler that's getting all this praise. And the thing about it, you don't get a lot of black guys that get over as single stars in the WWE. At the start of their careers. So, I mean, for all of those reasons, I'm always big on Velveteen. However, after going into all of that, if I'm going to pick a winner of this match, I don't think that Ethan Carter III, I don't think EC3 has had a NXT TakeOver one-on-one match since he's gotten there. I can't remember if he has or not. I might be lying. But
he is not.
I don't think that he's had a singles match on a takeover yet. So if this is his NXT takeover singles debut, I don't see Ethan Carter III losing. I don't see EC3 losing this match. So I'm gonna go with EC3 on this one. Next match on the card, we were just mentioning him as one of the people that defeated the Velveteen Dream. In a different match, in a different big match. Ricochet is getting his first singles title opportunity in NXT in a one-on-one match at a takeover versus Adam Cole, baby. North American Championship. I still hate that name. I still hate the abbreviation. But Adam Cole has been doing everything he can to add prestige to that title. And he's really putting that title over right now. I don't think that the Undisputed Era is the same without Adam Cole still holding on to that belt. As great as Ricochet is, I'm going to have to go with Adam Cole retaining.
Well, what you just said right there, as opposed to EC3, this is his second singles match for Ricochet. Now, I don't recall Adam Cole having a singles match without the Undisputed Era somewhere lurking in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they're going to be there. And yes, the Undisputed Era, at least they do have a tag championship match. So, I feel that somehow or another, I think the Ricochet is going to take it. I think that this is going to go ahead and be another high for Ricochet, just because with the Undisputed Era, there's something that's gonna happen. I can't explain what. I'm not sure what, but it's gonna be something with them. Um, and in a way, I'm not sure how long that Bobby Fish has left on injury, so that's why I kind of wonder, like, what's Roderick Strong gonna do? So I think that might play into it somehow, some way. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said before, I'm really not familiar with the feud, but judging by what I've heard, being that and I can't think of it. I can't even think of the name now. But being that he doesn't have as many matches, I'm gonna go with the
Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Since we're on the topic of the Undisputed Era, we move into the next match, the NXT Tag Championships. The Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong versus Mustache Mountain, uh, which is the tag team of Trent Seven and former UK champion Tyler Bate. Uh, in this match, Mustache Mountain has already defeated the Undisputed Era once and won the titles from them, only to relinquish the titles right back. So this one makes it a little bit unpredictable because I don't know which way they're gonna go with this. Um, if I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna go for my favorite out of the two, and it's gonna be the Undisputed Era. Kyle O'Reilly is money, and I can't. I want to keep seeing them be the tag champions. Really, I want them to keep the titles until Bobby Fish comes back, and then I want to make it a dilemma to where they don't know whether they want to keep Bobby Fish or Roderick Strong. In that instance, so I'm gonna go with Undisputed Era.
Okay. Um, Judging, I forgot to say this earlier, but WWE did do a video with the Undisputed Era earlier. Um, and one of the questions, like I of course had to pop this out there, was so how long does Bobby Fish have left? And they didn't answer my question, but they did kind of like acknowledge the whole, like they were saying that the fans were asking when is Bobby Fish returning, and they kind of all got mad about it. So that right there hints at something to me. That's the reason why I said that there's possibly going to be a screw job, just like he screwed his way in, he might screw his way out. So I don't know. That's that's just my thing. As much as I like Mustache Mountain, I hope that they do win. And the Undisputed Era, I mean, I hope they do win because I really want to see, like you said, where this is going to go here, and if they are still the tag champs, like, okay, so who is actually going to be the champ with Kyle O'Reilly, because that's the one that we know for sure. So,
Well, I'll put it like this. I'm not really familiar with the Undisputed Era, but with a name like Mustache Mountain, you gotta be dope. So I'm gonna go with Mustache Mountain. That's a dope name. Like I wanna watch it just to see the character Mustache Mountain.
I like that. I like that. They are a dope
I
tag
like
team.
the thought process there, sir.
They are a dope
like that's
tag
a
team.
dope name, Mustache Mountain.
They are definitely a dope tag team. Moving right along, we got two matches on the card left. Women's title. We just talked about Ronda Rousey and her being green and not ready to own the title. There's another UFC competitor on the NXT roster who has been making waves since winning the title. She has taken her character to a whole new level. She's a bully. She is a beast. Shayna Baszler is going against Kairi Sane, who is the next up-and-coming Japanese superstar that they have in the women's division. So in this instance, it's easy for me to pick Shayna Baszler. But depending on if Ronda Rousey does lose this title match, I would love to see Baszler come in somewhere along the line and play into that storyline and I feel like the only way that she can is if Kairi Sane somehow becomes the women's champion. So I'm going to go for Kairi Sane in this one.
I'm so glad that you said that. I'm really glad that you said that because it actually alluded to what I was exactly thinking. Remember, a few weeks ago when Ronda was suspended, Shayna, they had an interview on Raw with Shayna talking about, I got your back. So I do have that strong feeling that Shayna is going to drop the title and she's going to debut on Raw and she's going to help out Ronda Rousey with Alexa Bliss. So I'm picking Kairi because I think that that's just the one person that they've already been brewing to become the next champion of NXT for the women's division, especially since she is the winner of the Mae Young Classic. She beat Shayna to be the winner of the Mae Young Classic. This is just going to be the one person that Shayna cannot beat. And excuse me. Hold on. Okay. And Shayna will actually possibly go ahead and go to the main roster to have her with Ronda, especially in the absence of Natty. So I had to keep myself from getting choked up because of the whole Anvil thing. So there we go.
Factual.
No, I actually am a little familiar with Kairi Sane because she's I feel like she's Asuka on steroids, not in the ring, but just physically in the way that she looks, which makes me one of her number one fans. So I'm going Kairi Sane.
Short and sweet. I like it. I like it. All right. So the last match on the card, no doubtedly, is going to be the main event. We've seen it a couple of times, and it is amazing every time we see this match. This time, however, it's a little bit different. As one, we're getting another stipulation as a last man standing match. Two, we now have a championship title in play in this match. NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano in a last man standing match for the NXT title. And when I tell you this is one of the hardest matches to predict because it always can go either way every time they go. I still don't know who I want to win this match or who I feel like is going to win this match. So I'm going to just throw a name out there and bullshit it. I'm going to go for Tommaso Ciampa retaining on this one. I don't even have a reason. I just can't pick.
I think that is the devil on everybody's back. So I think that they are building him for some absolute greatness. I'm going Gargano. Not it's Ciampa. It's definitely Ciampa.
And the funny thing is, like, one of the only NXT matches that I watched was a tag match with Ciampa. I believe it was Ciampa and Gargano. I forgot who they fought, and they was making a big issue about it in another group, and I went and watched it, and I was like, yo, that dude Ciampa is funny, but I became a fan of his. The only thing that is funny about him, though, is his name. Every time I hear the name Ciampa, I immediately think of Dragon Ball Super, which is funny. But yeah, like I like Ciampa, and I feel like I'm gonna go with Ciampa.
Ooh, 3-0
Clean sweep for
Ciampa.
Ciampa.
3 for Ciampa. Nobody's going for Johnny Wrestling in this one.
Ciampa.
It's always tough, man, with this. When they broke up as a tag team.
I'll tell you what you guys have done, though. I'm gonna watch Takeover.
You got
because I want to see.
You got to.
I want to watch Takeover. I mean, I just haven't been able to watch. By the time Wednesday come, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with wrestling. But I'm gonna watch Takeover, and the full show. Like I'm gonna watch SummerSlam.
I knew this feud was real when they had the street fight and Tommaso Ciampa yanked off Johnny Gargano's wedding ring in the middle of the match and tossed it And I said to myself, you got to make sure that that's a fake ring, because if that ring is real, it's
Oh
gonna be a
yeah.
worse match afterwards. Once the show is over with his wife, than it would be with anything else. That's what really made this feud really real to me. And not to say that everything else wasn't amazing in this feud and the other matches, the unsanctioned match, but that moment made me realize, like, wow, these guys are putting on a hell of a personal program here. And I don't care if they book this match for the next 5 takeovers. I will watch every
Hashtag
single.
fight forever for real.
I will watch every single one. This is what a lot of people thought that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were in NXT. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens' relationship is nothing
Pale in
on this one.
comparison.
It pales in comparison into this relationship. And that is saying a lot. Man,
Um,
that's the one match that I'm really, 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 really looking forward to, because with the NXT title on the line, they're gonna go all out in this last man standing match, and we're gonna see something crazy.
it's it's going to be, in my opinion, I hate to do this, but NXT wins every time when it comes to versus the main card on their pay per views.
Mm-hmm.
NXT wins. It's
Oh,
because it's not as much to take in all the time as it is. You're getting a 3 hour show with 5 solid matches, and all the storytelling is so intricate and so detailed, and it's so engrossing. NXT is definitely going to beat SummerSlam, in my opinion. Um, the only way that SummerSlam can really truly win is if Brock Lesnar actually loses the title. And Kevin Owens cashes in, and or Braun Strowman cashes in, and we go ahead and knock that out, and every single title changes hands. That's the only way
that
that SummerSlam is going to be NXT.
that's the only way it could even come close. So that's all the topics that we have for tonight. Definitely great having you on the show, Mr. Stratisfaction.
It was good to be here. I enjoyed it.
You know, once we get to talking about wrestling, next thing you know, 2 hours goes by. It's like it feels
Yep.
like 5 minutes. Uh, um,
Yeah, I
so
could talk wrestling all night.
when it comes down to it, though, for the show, it's always great to have somebody who has the wrestling knowledge. I'm glad that we can convert you over into the NXT realm to watch the pay per view. Um, we're going to end on a note that we always end on, which is what we call our final thought of the night. This is adapted from, the debate amongst friends, who powers our show, where we just end on a note. Um, Anything wrestling related, or it could be not wrestling related. We had a graduation that nobody could, you know, top last show. So in this instance, whatever you want to leave on us to hang on a final thought, lay it on us. If you need some time, we'll go to Lady Great One.
Oh, you talking to me? Oh no,
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going first. Yeah, I'll go first. Final thought is that it's official. If you didn't know already, Trish Stratus is the greatest WWE superstar of all time. And yes, that's because I met her personally, and she was mad cool. And even though it's been like 3 weeks, I'm still geeked. So that is my final thought: is that regardless of what happens, if it's not Trish Stratus, it's just alright.
I like that. I like that. I like that. He's riding. He's riding that high right now.
I'm riding the wave.
Hey, and that's wonderful. Um, for my final thought, I've got three things that I want to talk about, and I'm gonna try to be really short on all three because first I'm gonna start off with my high, then I'm gonna get on into it. If you've never seen WWE live in any capacity, it's so much fun. You need to check it out. I don't care if you're sitting up at the top of the rafters or if you're in the front row. Make sure that you check out a live event because it's just so much more. You get so much more out of it than you do just sitting back and watching it every week. I know not everybody can make every single show because that's virtually impossible unless you're part of the crew and that's what you do for a living is you travel around and you get a chance to do that, or unless you're the sign guy who was doing that for many years, running around every week. You see him with his red hat, blue button-down shirt, white T-shirt, underneath it, holding up some sort of sign. So unless you're like stacked like that, it's virtually impossible. But definitely try to make a trip out if you've never been to one live. And which brings me to the other two things I want to talk about. The sadness right now. I've been trying to kind of hold it back a little bit, but we had to lay to rest this week two legends. The first one was WWE's very own Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the father of Natalia, um, one of the members of the Hart Foundation. Um, he was a great superstar. I'll never forget that laugh, that long, crazy goatee that he had. And I mean, it just saddens me to know that we lost a great guy. I mean, if you even watch Total Divas, you can see that the relationship that Natalia had with her father was like tremendous. She was always trying her best to make sure that Daddy was staying out of trouble, even though it was a bit of a rocky road. But she was always trying to make sure that Daddy was okay. Daddy was okay. So rest in heaven, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And I also want to give a special shout out and rest in heaven as well to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Um, she performed America the Beautiful for WWE at WrestleMania. I want to say it was 13. I can't exactly remember. Maybe it was 3. I'm not 100% sure. Um, don't quote me on the actual WrestleMania, but I know she performed at WrestleMania. Um, the Queen of Soul opened up so many doors, and just the simple 7-letter word that does not get used enough, respect. And that's one of her biggest hits. And I'm just glad that I can show her some respect, and I have this platform to be able to express my sadness and my emotions. Excuse me, for when in this venue. So I want to go ahead and say, rest in heaven, Jim Anvil at Neidhart and Aretha Franklin, and that is my final thought.
Whew. Oh man. Um, you know that moment when like it's something sad is just really happening, and you just gotta try to put your attention on something else so it don't get you wrapped up. Like you almost really got me wrapped up right there for a second, and I almost lost everything. My goodness. Definitely rest in peace to both of them. Um, my final note or my final thought is somewhat of a sad note. Um, not in that realm, but the sad note that I'm referring to is Marking Out Amongst Friends, the podcast season 1 is coming to an end. Next Thursday, the recap show for SummerSlam will be the very last show of season 1. We're going to take a brief hiatus. We will be back by Survivor Series to get you guys caught up on that in November. So we'll be taking a break until November. When we come back, we'll have a lot of new stuff for you guys. So definitely can't wait to get into that. I can't wait to expand the brand of the Marking Out Amongst Friends podcast. Um, the business, period. Uh, Other than that, one other final thought that I wanted to leave everybody else on. I don't know if you guys play a lot of cell phone games. I know everybody is tied to their phone. One of the games that I've always been addicted to, specifically over the last 2 years, is WWE Champions. Um, and it's just one of those games that it combines WWE and Tetris puzzle fighting style. It's one of those games that I haven't been able to put down since I picked it up. Today marked mark the first day that they actually introduced women's wrestling into that game. So we actually now have women that you can actually earn and build up just as you did the men. Coming up into the Evolution program that we'll be having in October. Um, right now, if you guys were to actually download the app, you could grab Alexa Bliss for free. Um, Great game. Go out there and play it. Other than that, that's all I have to leave you guys on for the final thought. Definitely a great show tonight. Enjoyed doing this with you guys. But we are gonna have to close it out. So episode 20 is a wrap. Marking out amongst friends out.